Hi, welcome to the Conscious Spirit Podcast. I'm Mari-Lyn with another life without my addictions. My addictions being alcohol, codependency, victimhood. Oh, dang it, and I hate to say this, depression. And I say depression because while I have had depression in my life, and I do still get bouts of depression. But I am putting my depression in the category of an addiction because I find it really easy to fall into some of the behaviors of depression. And I had to have this conversation with Pam today, and that's what helped me realize what I was doing, because here I'm experiencing all of these symptoms, if you will, of depression, but I find myself asking, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Some pretty important factors that go along with depression. And I remember somewhere in my brain saying, stop, you're ruining this. And that was like, oh my gosh, I am not in depression at all. I am escaping. I am trying to hide from something, bypass something. Something is going on in my life that I am not wanting to be an active participant in. And I mean, there's a number of things that this could be, right? And I'm going to be very honest. Christmas time just hasn't been the same since my mother died. And this Christmas, my closest family members are across the country. They've moved. And I'm sad about it. And I have found myself slipping into these behaviors of depression because why? Because I'm supposed to? Because it's expected of me? I really don't know. I'm actually going to go visit them in a week's time. No, I won't be spending actual Christmas with them, but I'll be spending a week with them. And I know when I get home, I'm going to be sad. But, you know, sadness does not mean depression. And I think through the other experiences of addiction that I have had, it's very easy to fall into the habit and allow it to become an addiction, just like victimhood. Because when I'm in those behaviors of depression, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm a victim. And oh, that's just gross. That's so gross. Luckily, and I do apologize for this cough. If I could get rid of it, trust me, it would be gone. Although, I will call on my Body Davis healing team and ask them if they could quiet this for her to get me through this podcast. So so yeah, it's an ugly thing, falling into these behaviors that have become like an addiction, or they are an addiction. So But the good news is I know how to get into recovery. I know now through all of the healing that I've done, I know the questions to ask. I know the hard questions. I know what it takes to actually look inside and figure out what it is that's really going on, and then to go to heal it. And if I need help healing that, I call on my partner Pam, and she helps me, because we're not meant to do this alone. And while there is a lot of individual work that we have to do, we're just not meant to do it alone. And energy healing certainly is not something that we do by ourselves. So what is it that I need to do to start the recovery process out of this habit or addiction of depression? Well, the first thing is to recognize it. To recognize that that's what I've done. So I've done that. I have recognized it. After recognizing it, I have to ask myself, why? What is it that I'm wanting to hide from? Because that's what we do in addiction. It's all about hiding and not being that active participant. So what is it? What is it that I'm hiding from, that I'm not wanting to deal with? And okay, what's coming for me right now, it's expectations. It's my own expectations that I have about what crap, what a happy Christmas is. What a happy Christmas is wow. Okay, sorry. Though, these little revelations that you can have right in the middle of, well, something like this, when you've got who knows who watching you, and you get these revelations, it's like, wow, thank you, Spirit. I have an expectation around what this time of year should be. And then I have an expectation of what this time of year always has been. I'm not willing to open up myself to letting go of expectations, opening up myself to a new perspective, to finding a normal that is surrounded with love. And whether that's just self-love, love of the season, love of other people that is far away, it just doesn't matter. The vibration of love, when we stand in it, transcends time, dimensions, everything. So I guess that's the bottom line. I mean, we're here to find self-love, and addiction comes, very simply put, addiction comes from hiding from the lack of self-love. Because when we're faced to look at that lack, we are eventually going to be forced at seeing ourselves from a new light, from, say, the way Spirit sees us. Spirit sees us, like that light of a candle that is always on and always bright. I remember as a kid, one of my favorite songs was This Little Light of Mine. And To this day, I still sing that song, especially in those times when I'm feeling down and I can't hear spirit, when I've blocked spirit. That little song, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, is just enough to open up the possibilities again, and to where I can hear spirit and I can allow spirit into my life. Excuse me. So, sobriety. Sobriety is about finding a way to fill the hole that's inside. It's about finding those little things that trigger us into wanting to hide. It's about finding a way to heal those triggers, to heal ourselves so we're not triggered by those things. An example would be someone else's anger. I felt I at one point, it was very hard for me to deal with anyone else's anger, and so to escape anger I would drink, which ironically made me angry. But anyway, so another person's anger was a trigger for me to drink. After I got sober, what I was able to do was to realize, and this was through a lot of soul searching and a lot of talk therapy, with counselors and with other people, with, going in, a lot of talking to spirit. But that other person's anger is their anger. It's not mine. I don't have to take it on as mine. I don't have to take the energy. And learning that that's their shit. That's theirs. If it's pointed at me, that doesn't mean it has anything to do with me. And it's none of my business. And that's true with most of our triggers. We think it's about us, and it really isn't. So the ego gets involved a lot around triggering, making us feel like we're either being attacked or that we are to blame, that we are not being seen, that we are somehow involved, that we are the center of attention in whatever is happening that's triggering us. And that's not true. We are the center of us. That's all we are. We don't get to be the center of anyone else's life, because that's none of our business. We call that staying in our own lane. Staying in our own lane means taking responsibility and being accountable for what I do, what I say, what I think, what I put out there in the world. There was a very beautiful lady that I know, she still is. I have not seen her in a while. But she used to say, who do I want to be in this world? That's what sobriety, that's what recovery allows us to do. Recovery allows us to figure out who we want to be in this world and to figure out how to do that the best way possible for our highest good, which ultimately is in everyone else's highest good, and to really hone in that sediment of who do I want to be in this world. In this world, I want to be a loving, compassionate, soft person. And I've got the compassion pretty much figured out. I am very loving. The softness part, I'm still working on. I am a work in progress. In all of it, I am a work in progress. But in that softness, that's who I want to be in this world. And that's what recovery right now is allowing me to find, is that softness of how to deliver who I am in a very gentle way, in a very soft way, without having to push my agenda on you, which is where my codependency would take me. I would push myself. I'd shove myself down your throat to everybody's detriment in a very codependent manner. So not only am I finding out who I want to be in this world after alcohol, but I'm also figuring out who I want to be after codependency and after victimhood, because for me, those two, they're pretty enmeshed. Not always, but yeah, a lot of the time, the codependency and victimhood are pretty much enmeshed. So in recovery, it is not only about abstaining, it's about learning to live without. And some of you might be going, well, isn't that what abstaining is? For me, abstaining means willpower. I'm not going to do that. I'm not picking up a drink today. Here's a drink right here. I'm abstaining. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Willpower only will get you so far. I am so grateful that as of today, relapse has not been part of my story. I pray and I set the intention that relapse will never be part of my story. I know that if I relied 100% on willpower, that the likelihood is much greater. So by learning to live without means I have to change. I'm going to change that even. I get to change. I was given the opportunity and I took the opportunity to change the way I thought, to change the way I felt, to change the way I acted, to change the way, and this is huge, 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 to change the way I reacted. Reaction can be more important in times than what our actual action is. This might be a whole nother topic about action and reaction. In fact, I'm going to write that down. Because at least for me, if you're familiar with the phrase knee-jerk reaction, ooh, that used to be me. That used to be me. That's usually how I lived my life. I lived my life in that mode of knee-jerk reaction to everything. And when you're not present, it's easy to do. It's really easy to do when you're not present. So recovery, allowing yourself to change the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, the way you react. You are discovering who you want to be and who you are without all the extra crap. And it's not easy all the time, but being in addiction is not easy. It's not. It is not easy. And well, you might be wondering right now, well, how do I know if I'm in addiction? And that's a valid question. I don't care at what stage you are in any addiction. How do I know? One of the best ways that I can think of, and it's still easy to deny, is when you say to yourself, I need to stop doing that. I want to stop doing that. Gosh, I wish I didn't do that anymore. Right there is your very, very clear indicator that you are in addiction. If you're able to say that to yourself and stop with no second thought about it, then maybe you weren't in addiction. Maybe you were just in a very bad habit. And bravo for you. I'm going to say that more times than not, I'd bet money that you're going to say that to yourself over and over and over again for as long as it takes for you to finally be tired of saying it. And you just come to that point in your life where enough is enough. You get sick of yourself, so to speak, and you make that change. You go from being in active addiction to being in recovery, discovering who you want to be in this life. Who are you when there's self-love? Because that's the real you. When there's self-love, the person that exudes from you, that's who you are. And I want to be loving, compassionate, and soft. And when I allow myself to stand in that vibration of self-love, of knowing that that is who I am, to stand in vulnerable strength, humility, and dignity, that's who comes out, is a compassionate, loving, soft woman. And I could not be more grateful for those moments when she appears. Someday she's going to be more present than not. In my life today, I feel like she has just shown up. I feel like she's here. I am embodying her right here in this moment. And I thank you for giving me that opportunity. And I thank you for allowing me to share this with you, because it feels so right. It feels so good and uplifting. It feels so hopeful. In the moment, in the vibration that I am feeling that I'm in right now, I find myself wondering, why did it take me so long to get here? And I'm speaking, honestly, I'm speaking of the past couple of days. And it doesn't matter. That's what's coming to me, is it doesn't matter. It has just emerged. Embrace it, enjoy it, and hang on to it as long as I can, because I'm human. I can't hang on to it 24/7 because I'm not meant to. We are meant to ebb and flow. So recovery is not rainbows and unicorns and pink clouds. Recovery is work. And I don't care if you're recovering from drug addiction or the addiction of gossip. It is still work, and it's work on yourself. It's looking inside, it's looking deep, and it is saying, where's that hole that I am trying to fill? And I'm done trying to fill it with outside circumstance. I am ready to fill this hole from the inside out. That's one of the biggest acts of self-love that there is when you can say, I am ready to fill this hole from the inside out. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of me. That's none of my business. I am ready to stay in my lane. I am ready to walk my path, my journey, and fill myself from the inside out. And once we do that, that spark of light that lives in our heart space, that spark of light that is uniquely individual, that is divine in its essence. It is part of the collective. That ignites, and as we nourish it, it flourishes and it grows. And just like a flame in a candle will flicker, so does the light within us. That's because we're human and we have lessons to learn. We have wounding to experience and traumas to experience to help us with those lessons. And it's in those dim, as the flame dims, and we have to look in again and figure out how to get that flame back up. That's one of the wonders, really, of life, but most certainly of recovery, because when we are in addiction, very rarely do we see that flame. We snuff that flame. We hide that flame. We bury it. We numb it. We do everything we can not to look at that flame, not to even realize that there is a flame in there, because we are so lacking. And we don't have to lack anymore. We don't have to lack for self-worth. We don't have to lack for self-love. It doesn't matter what happened to us, who happened to us. We all have that light within us, and we can all fill that hole from the inside out. If you doubt that, I encourage you to reach out, because I would love the opportunity to change your mind. And I don't put this out here being foolhardy or light. I earnestly mean, if you don't believe that you can fill that hole from the inside out, reach out. Because as a woman in recovery, as a spiritual mentor and a healer, I want to change your mind. I want to help you heal. And whether that's through a conversation or through energy healing, it will be what spirit brings, according to what your goals and intentions are. If you want to reach out, you can contact me or Pam through TCS, everydaypsychics.com. And we both, I speak for Pam in this moment, we are so grateful for our audience. We are very grateful for all of the support that we have received and that we know we will continue to receive. We absolutely have the best community, and we just couldn't be more grateful. And I think this is going to be a wrap. Thank you for allowing me to share with you, and I hope some of this was thought-provoking, and hopefully a few things landed for you. Take care, be well, bye.